All right, welcome back, everyone. We got Cody Davis back on my scheduled Monday. So, morning, man.
Good morning.
Yeah, let's kick into this. Maybe, I believe, could be my last live stream for the week. Got the Vegas event coming up this weekend. I'm not sure we'll play it by ear. But, Cody, I saw your last video. I like the topic on how you kind of or maybe changed your plan for your presentation at the event, right? So, what was that all about, and what was the thought process on maybe why you want to change it?
I want it to impact a larger percentage of people than not. Of course, you can't leave a positive impact on everybody, right? I mean that's impossible. However, originally it was going to be tailored towards taking the first step, meaning getting started. I figured that would hit home, getting started, opening the event, starting the event. Like it made sense, but there's a lot of people that'll be there that have already gotten started, so that wouldn't hit home as hard as if I tailor fit the presentation to be taking your next step, identifying wherever you're at, where you'd like to go, and what logical pieces you have to play with, and what your next steps are. So that's going to be a more targeted presentation than the original was going to be. And I think because of that, it will have a better impact on people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that how you're always kind of your mind's always thinking. So like, that's like even where your videos a lot of times on Tuesday, Thursdays that you post, it's kind of just where you're at in the moment, what's going through your head. And even your presentation, like you said, you had this kind of original plan of what you're going to do. And I think a lot of people would have went down that route of presenting to how to get started and what's the first steps to take. And then you kind of took a step back and looked at maybe who the audience is going to be. And it's kind of like, a lot of people in this community already kind of started the journey for the most part. And what we kind of don't hear about is that middle portion, I think, is what you're really talking about, right? So we hear the beginning, how to get started, and then people that have kind of finding it towards that end game, but not a lot of people. And I think if you're in the school community, that's what you see a lot of the questions are about, are the people that are in the middle, right? So is that also where maybe some of these discussions are coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. When you see people posting about what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, it helps you tailor fit what you're going to do. It's
And
kind of like when I was back in school, I'd never want to present first because I would tailor my presentation to the people who went before me. The fact that I get to see all these people posting in the community, I get to tailor fit it to that.
uh, sorry, I'm just getting your channel. So if you can hop over also, Cody is streaming there also, and go subscribe there. And I see a lot of people who will be at the event also in the chat. So I see Hyder, Chris Wissing, I believe Victor's going to be there. Unfortunately, Stephen P and Harrison are not going to be there. Flavio, I don't know. I keep hearing he's canceling, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, I think that's the great part about you kicking off the event, right? So it's pretty a clean slate. You can pretty much present on anything you want to because you are the first speaker, right? Was that you think a important designation Zuber gave to you though to kick off the event?
Well, it's definitely important to me. I mean, it's pretty cool to be able to start it off. I'm going to do my best to make sure it goes well, which is why I'm actually preparing for this one rather than winging it. 90+% of my winged presentations have gone fantastic. I had one crash and burn. I don't want to have a crash and burn. That's never fun. So it's an honor from Zuber. So that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one thing you also touched on a lot is that this is kind of like your first prepared presentation, right? So a lot of times you just wing it. I think so. Has it been very challenging to actually try to put this together and put some thought into? And not well, not I know I'm sure you put thought into others, but as far as presenting this in a certain way.
No. And here's the reason why. When I say prepared, I don't mean rehearse. Like I haven't rehearsed the slides. The reason I don't rehearse the slides is the same reason I don't rehearse my YouTube videos. If you practice something over and over, sometimes you omit important details that come to mind in the moment. And so, what I did when I say I prepared for this presentation, I put more than 3 minutes of thought into the PowerPoint. So, I spent a couple hours. I'm like, what would make sense to be here? What photo should be here? because there's a photo on every slide. What what impact would I get if I was seeing this? Like, I thought through that. I haven't practiced presenting it because each slide is basically, think about it like my YouTube channel. Each slide is going to be a YouTube video. My videos only last 3 minutes typically. Some of them go to 8, but my time allotment, I've got about 10 slides. So I have about 3 minutes per slide. And my thought process was, I have a topic. Now let's make a YouTube video on it. That was my idea behind it. And I've practiced 3-minute videos so many times that I believe, since I put a bunch of time on the front end and crafting a story through the slides, that I can do that.
I do want to give a shout out to Chris Wissing, who's tuning in. Please go jump over to his channel, subscribe. I think we set a goal for him in Vegas. We want to get him to, I think it was 100 by the time the end of the event. So we do have a goal set up for Wissing and his new YouTube channel. And he got his kids involved doing a lot of the construction work. So it's very cool. So go check that out. Before we dig into it, I do see some questions here for you, Cody. I think one thing I want to bring up is, I know you've also been doing live streaming with Justin Cambra on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. How has that been? Do you think the live streams are also challenging to discuss? And is it different from just recording things? How would you describe that?
Yeah, because I have interaction with other people. When I'm just winging it, I can wing it for a while. But with someone else, you got to keep the conversation going. I don't write down any questions. So when we do our lives, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is, we just go. And we finally started getting some questions in the YouTube chat. So that actually helped a lot. Wasn't getting any for a while. And I was like, oh man, just have to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the challenging part. So I'm always grateful for the community for chiming in, putting great questions in there. I do see Gus tuning in from Instagram. If you haven't checked out, Gus did his interview with Michael Zuber recently. So that posted yesterday morning. So if you haven't checked that out, I definitely recommend checking that out. It was a great interview with Zuber and Gus. Harrison is asking, Cody, what questions are you nervous to be asked at the event?
I'm not nervous to be asked any questions. I mean, feel free to shoot away. Like, I don't mind answering any questions, whether it's about partnerships, about capital structures, my losses. I've had significant losses, some of the wins. Like, I'll discuss whatever you want to discuss.
I'm going to skip over real quick, and someone from your channel, I believe, Iman Gay, is asking, is he your son? No, Cody, he could be. I mean, age-wise, definitely, but he is not my son. But Victor's asking, Cody, when you pick a market, how do you know or if it's a red state, blue eviction laws, or the other way around?
That's so. Luckily, we live in the information age. I'm not jumping to a different market, but if I was, I'd just throw it into ChatGPT. You can find out what traditionally locations are swinging, like which way they go, and how difficult it is. AI is definitely a wonderful tool to use, and that's what I do. So you can do your own market research on Google, but AI will give you a good idea of which way certain areas trend.
Going back to you pivoting kind of on your maybe main talking point at the event, like, was there a certain moment, I mean, that you said, hey, maybe I should, did you actually start presenting or preparing for your first, talking about how to get started?
No. So when I changed the topic, it was when I was putting together the PowerPoint. So I guess so, but I was putting it together and like, this could be better.
Okay. So there is going to be a lot of people at the event. Let's say they are maybe still in that first 5 years, but they're in the first 5 years of how to get started. What maybe advice or problem does that kind of signal? So like you're saying, we're thinking a lot of people at the event are going to be kind of in the middle of this journey. But let's say someone has been like 5 years in that how to get started still yet.
I would keep doing what you're doing, The mistake people make is they switch because it's difficult and you're not getting the results you want. And then what you end up doing is, like we saw on a podcast that Zuber was on recently, you say you've been doing something for a decade, yet you've been doing it for 2 years, and then you switch for another 2 years, you switch for another 2 years because it's hard, and then you never get ahead. So just stick to what you're doing. Don't switch it up. After 5 years, if you're still not happy with what you have, make some pivots. But if you're buying stuff, like maybe you're buying duplexes and you want to shift to storage, or you're buying duplexes and you want to shift to apartments or single family. If you've only been doing it for a couple of years, you don't really know what's going to be better than where you're at right now because you haven't learned the mistakes. It's really hard to learn all the mistakes that quickly. I still made mistakes in year 6 going on 7.
I think that's the one thing people love about your channel and you being on these live streams and Zuber's channel is the transparency about your struggle. I think that's the one thing missing out there. A lot of people that are in this field are just only talking about the wins and scaling and growing, and you're actually kind of showing a different picture out there, right? So maybe in your experience, what's worse, not believing you can win or believing you can't lose?
So if you believe you can't win and that makes it so you don't start, that is worse than starting and thinking you can't lose. If you don't think you can win, but you still take the steps to win, then maybe you truly don't believe what you're saying, but that would be okay. But believing you can't lose is a bad way to live. You can absolutely lose. Anybody can go down. So those are both pretty bad.
Yeah, and that's on a different asset class, but I think there was, like, I think even Zuber touched on it. We talked about it with Bitcoin Nick on Saturday, but there was that one individual that had, like, I think 250 million in Bitcoin, and something happened, and overnight it was down to like $50, something like that, right? So you just keep playing this certain game, and real estate isn't moved that quickly, but there's people out there, like you're saying, if they think they can't lose, and something like that does happen, right? Flavio is asking, Cody, this is repetitive, but why is the main reason you would not do a motel conversion? Is it because it's not income producing day one?
I've made money on my motel conversion deals. I broke even on one and I made 6 figures on another. You can make money doing anything, but best case scenario, like let's say your motel average is like 24 to 40 units. So let's go in the middle, 30 units. If your average rent when you're all said and done in a central Washington location where we live, Flavio, is $800 when you put in a kitchenette, you do all the renovations. You're going to have to run new wiring for the stoves. You're going to have to update the plumbing. Likely needs a new roof. You're going to need new windows. A lot of the motels have aluminum single pane windows. So all that to be said, you have to do a whole lot of work, and you're going to get $800 rent on 30 units, $24,000 a month. Sounds great. But when you have those low rents, your expenses a percentage are higher. So you're probably going to run closer to 50% expense. 12 grand a month, net income, 144 grand a year. It's like, is it worth it to go through all the brain damage, spend all the money to fix it up, take on all the debt you're going to take on? If you're buying it around 50,000 a unit for a motel, and then you put another 15,000 per unit into it, you're in at 65 grand. That's $2 million of investment between the debt and the equity to get 144 grand a year. It's about a 7.5% cap rate. So that actually maths out. It's a lot of work for not a lot of payout. And then you have the high turnover of having studio units. So I don't like it. 144 grand, I can go buy a new construction 9-plex and make the same amount of money. So, and that's in Central Washington, same market. Would you rather make the same amount from 30 units with a lot of turnover or 9 units without? I'd pick 9. And I don't have to do the renovation. I don't have to do any of the CapEx. Just buy it and chill. So that's my thought.
We actually had an accountability call this morning from the school community. And, some people haven't been to the ORaaT event yet. Some people maybe just starting their kind of real estate journey. And I know you've thrown events, you've been to events. What would you maybe give to this person advice on how to approach this event? Is there something, a certain way you like to go to these events? Like, are you, sit down, take notes? Are you trying to talk to different people? Like, how would you approach this event?
Well, the first thing, find a way to go shake the host's hand. Go say, hey, get a little sidebar conversation. When I go to an event, I try and make sure that I do that every time. Even when it was like I went to bigger events, like went and saw Grant Cardone. I made sure I went and shook his hand, took a photo. Like, just try to do that. If you can do that, you can go talk with everybody else. If you think about the hierarchy of an event, like you have the host, and then you have the speakers, and then you have the attendees. And it's not like one's higher up or better than another. It's just how the event's put together. So if you can get the confidence to go do that, it's a little easier to go talk to the speakers. And if you talk to the speakers, you can talk to the attendees. That's the mindset behind it. So I would try and do that. Shake Zuper's hand as early as possible. Say hey. Try and meet every speaker. A little conversation, even if it's 30 seconds. And then exchange contact info. Don't just give someone your number. Get someone's number. Because there's been a lot of times where I've given my number out before I had gotten started and nobody would ever call me or text me. But if I get their number, better believe I'm reaching out to them. So that would be my recommendation in that order on what to do at an event.
Do you, by any chance, use any type of digital card, like business card, or how do you transfer your contact information?
Well, with people that have the right phone, the iPhone, you can just put your phones together and then it'll automatically share all the info. It's kind of cool. With Android, I just text them my info.
Do you keep so like on your contact, do you keep like your buy box or anything on there? So like when you give your contact information, this person knows where you invest, your buy box, what you're looking for, things like that?
I haven't, but I also haven't networked a lot in those types of rooms recently. So in the beginning, probably should have or would have, but now not so much. I got my name. I should probably take off my home address. And then
Flavio's going to show up. Watch out. Flavio's going to show
it's
up.
all public anyway, so it's not like it matters. But take one step, out of it. But it's got that. It's got my website. I don't know why. Every once in a while, I do no advertising for it. I got one last night. It's like every month I get one-off call that gets booked through my website. It just happens randomly. I set it up like 2 years ago and it's still just there.
Yeah, I think that's all great advice. Yeah, make sure you reach out to the people that are speaking at the event. Try to shake hands with them. And I guess I don't even remember how we connected. I think I saw that you were posting something and you were in Hawaii at the time, and I think I just commented on something, or you were at the airport maybe, or something like that. And we had coffee, but
yeah, and that was a good spot. That was not far from where my mother-in-law was living.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, people, you just don't. I think people a lot of times are scared to just introduce themselves and whatnot, but just do it. I mean, that's why you're going to the event. I mean, like I try to tell people, a lot of this is recorded also, right? So a lot of the speakers their presentations will be there later, and you can always go back if you do want to take better notes. But for the most part, try to shake hands with these people. It might be the only time you meet them in person, right? And let's see what else. I don't know if you saw the live stream the other week I had with Gus. Gus was on with Brandon. And it was a question kind of Gus also brought up to Zuber in his interview. But when I look at Gus, I never heard him mention the end goal. like for himself. Like there's no end goal in place, seems like, and he's always hustling and grinding. And I was kind of just mentioning how Justin Cambra, Dion, Coach Carson, kind of at some point, either the small and mighty mindset kicked in, or pivoted a little bit to clean up their portfolio. And so someone like Gus, who's just grinding, and he's killing it, but he hasn't really. Seems like there's no end goal mentioned on his part. Like, do you think that's something would be helpful if he came up kind of with an end goal in place?
I think so. If you don't have a target, it can get very difficult if you're just doing it just to do it. I fell into that. I ended up building a business that was bigger than it should have been, faster than it should have gone. And there's a lot of consequences. It doesn't mean that you could have two people, they could do exactly the same thing, and one could have a different outcome. Not because they were better, like they could do exactly the same thing, and they just hit a different stride than the other person. So, I mean, it could work out, but I haven't found just doing it just to do it, not having a goal, to be a very good endeavor. Like, it's just not worth it. You make mistakes.
Yeah, and I think I brought up, I keep bringing that back up from one of your interviews with Zuber, how you were excited about this property that you found or came on the market, and it was like you ran the numbers and like, oh, this is a great deal, or if I did this, it'd be a home run kind of thing, but then you kind of realize like, why do I need it to some extent, right? And Zuber was just like, now I know you're transitioning Cody, right? Like it's like the Cody of 2 years ago would have figured out a way to do this deal, but now you're just like, I'm good. Like I don't. It was fun running the numbers, and it could be profitable, but I don't really need it for whatever goal I'm trying to hit, right? So I love that discussion.
Yeah, and if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. Doing what I do gives me alopecia. Like, let's see, this reversed. So, like, I got camera reversal is hard, but like, doing what I do is stressful. So, the only answer is to not do as much of what I do, or get into newer, bigger properties. So it's like even though I don't want this. I don't want to keep scaling stressful business. You make a lot. Well, I make most of my money in the value add stuff. I should say that, not you, but not everybody, but that's where I make most of my money. It's what I recommend people look at, is doing value add. But if you keep staying there, you just get stressed out. That's what I found.
Hyder has a great point. He says having a standardized icebreaker could help. Name, market, portfolio, asset class. Yep. Harrison says, what question do you want people to ask you? Is there something that investors are missing that you wish they would bring up?
I would say ask what you want to know, not what you think people want to hear. So it's like, if you have a genuine question, no matter how deep, just ask. Some people are unwilling to ask because they're like, nobody else is going to want to hear this. You're at an event, you want takeaways. If there is something you're struggling with or have difficulties with, just ask. I've seen it time and time again where my friend at a real estate event would have questions and they didn't want to ask because they're like, this is only going to apply to me. It's not going to help someone. Who are you to know that? Like, you're probably wrong. So just ask the question. So no matter how personalized you think it might be, I mean, don't ask about your second removed sister's cousin something or other, but if it has anything to do with business and you have a question about it, go for it. And if you think it will help you, it'll probably help other people.
To that point, people that haven't been to the Michael Zuber's ORaaT event, the kind of format is, there's a presenter, they're probably allowed 30, 40 minutes to speak, and then there's about 20-minute maybe Q&A. So if you are attending the event, I highly recommend, if there's people that you want to ask questions to, come prepared. You can write your question down ahead of time, find out what speakers are going to be there, and then you can get in line and you can ask your question, and Cody or other speakers will be up there and answer your question. And some people get so much people waiting in line that actually they stop their time and then they just go in the corner because there's a lot of space and they go in their corner and then they have some more one-on-ones and answer people's questions. So yeah, if there's someone that you really want to connect with, come prepared, bring your questions ready, and go up there and fire them off. Berkey 999. Haven't seen you here before. Thanks for stopping by. It's kind of like Drake May. Yeah, Drake maybe. Definitely he was exposed last night. I see. Hey, Joel's tuning in. Joel is definitely going to try to talk to Pace Morby while he's there. I have a feeling Pace will probably only be there for his presentation. So Joel, your best opportunity might be to just wait in line and have your questions ready, and somebody can record that or video that. But Joel says it's the season of building and growth, and then can pull the foot off the pedal. Absolutely. I think I also see Frank, old guy REI, tuning in, and he talks about mistakes, and he's been very transparent about a lot of his journey also. But I think one of the things he always talks about that he struggled with was comparing himself to others, maybe who are at that same point in their journey, right? So we're, those of us that are in that 5 to 10 year space, or he was comparing himself, and he always maybe felt like, why am I not where these people are at, or I'm failing, right? So was that a problem for you, like comparing yourself to other people?
Yes and no. So it's on and off. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. However, it can also spark innovation. So no matter how good you do, there's always going to be someone doing better than you. If you do better, there's going to be a lot more people doing worse than you. But there's always someone that's doing better, that's playing at a higher level. And that can be defeating. It can also be motivating. And you got to pick your battles. Like, do you want to stay motivated forever and keep scaling, or do you just want to be content where you're at and grow when it feels right? Like, that's a self-discovery question. But I go back and forth. I look at some of the people in my sphere that we got similar cards, and they played some of theirs a lot worse, and some of them played out a lot better. And I'm like, oh, it'd be so much nicer if I had that hand that they had that played out so well, but they also had some mega losses on the other side. It's like, would I wanted that? No. So comparison, it's a necessary evil at certain points in your journey.
I do see Brian Waters, Code 3, tuning in from Instagram. He said he wants to talk to Mark in the corner. I told Captain Brian, I said, you ain't catching me in no corner, man. I don't know what he's gonna do to me, but Brian will be there at the event, so that'll be super cool to meet him in person. He was on the live stream, maybe a couple weeks ago. He's been on a few recently, but doing a lot of cool stuff in Detroit. That's there. Oh, Joe said he did get in contact with Pace's, or Pace responded to his DM. So it looks like Joe has contacted his assistant, and maybe he can schedule something while he's in Vegas. Very cool. I see Jeff. Cody Evers is here. He just joined school. Oh, Hyder. If you are here, Hyder, Simon, the uneducated economist, who is now actually going to be speaking again for the third time in Vegas. He started a school community also. So if someone wants to go check that out, Hyder can go put in Simon's link for his school platform, and can check that out. I think there's a free trial when you go to the platform. Lead Prejado, Coach Nick, Bitcoin. We may still stream on Saturday. We'll try to figure something out. But this past Saturday's one was a good one. It's like going to the weight room at the gym. Some people avoid it because they are starting out weak and never reach the potential they have. Yeah, absolutely. That must be even like, I would think, even for your gymnastic stuff, Cody. I would feel a lot of people are hesitant to start that, because I think, like, if I was to go in there, I'd look like a fool right off the bat. So do you see a lot of people, it takes them, it's a challenge to get people into that door?
Yeah, and who are you going to look like a fool to? Because the thing is, anybody whose opinion actually matters isn't going to care. So You go look like a fool in front of your coach, and the coach is going to say, I remember when I did that. Like they're going to cheer you on. The only people that would laugh are the people that can't do it, or the kids, but kids are brutally honest. So suck it up. The people whose opinions are going to matter are the ones that are going to be cheering you on, not the people laughing at you. So I would just go do it. Like if you go lift weights, it's like the comment, I don't remember who posted that, but you go to the weight room, like the people that are struggling in there and really pushing are not going to make fun of you.
Yeah, I totally see that. I love when I see the people that are kind of the regulars at the gym and helping out that newbie that's coming in, and because we've all been there, right? We've all been there and trying to lift that first weight or figure out this exercise machine or something, and I love when the people that are kind of the regulars, hey, come, I'll show you how to do this, and not make that person feel like they're doing something wrong, right? I will put Nick's channel in the chat, Coach Nick, if you want to find out more about daily Bitcoin content. He's putting out a lot of great stuff. I'm not sure if he hit that yet, but he was trying to get to 400 subscribers. So I know he was about 390. So hopefully we can get him there shortly. But he's putting out a lot of great information. Stephen P from the Bronx says, "Hey Cody, what are your thoughts now about cash out refinancing for buying more properties instead of just saving up for your next purchase, since the cash out lowers your cash flow?"
It depends what level you're at. And I don't like to give the depends answer all the time. It seems like I'm doing that. I'll give you an example. Let's say you own 2 duplexes and you could, right now you're cash flowing 400 per side. So you got 1,600 a month. If you cash out refinance those, you cut your cash flow in half. So now you're at 800 a month, but you go buy 2 more duplexes. That cash flow, and so that's another 800 a month. So you're back at the original cash flow. However, your debt exposure is higher. So you have the same amount of cash flow, but you probably have double the debt. That may not be a good adventure just to grow your portfolio. However, if you could significantly increase your cash flow by pulling out money, you reduce your cash flow on your one asset that you're pulling money out of, but you get to go buy maybe a 10 unit or a 8 unit or a 6 unit that has a whole bunch more net income. That could be a good idea. Another thing, on like a huge apartment building, if you own like a 30 unit or an 80 unit or whatever the number is, and you take your cash flow from 150 grand a year to 100, that's still a lot of disposable income, even though your cash flow went down. You just don't want to compress your global cash flow so low that you can't afford to do the standard maintenance and CapEx. So that would be my big concern about pulling money out. I still pull money out. I am in the process of selling a couple assets, but if I don't, I'll probably pull $300,000 to $400,000 out, which will lower cash flow a little bit, but that $300,000 to $400,000 will significantly increase my cash flow based on where I'm putting it. So borrow at 6 and earn 12 to 15%. So it depends the scale that you have, because you don't want to take your cash flow on an asset to only a couple $100 a month. That's never a good idea, even if you couldn't increase it elsewhere. I just wouldn't want to do that personally.
Sorry, I skipped over one. Looks like old guy REI posted a question, I think. But before we get into that, I want to maybe touch a little bit more on like the pulling out cash or refinancing. You are one of the few that I see quite often, and I'm not sure if there's a certain number you look at or what, but you are very for interest only for a period of time, right? On some of your,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so maybe you can touch on that, and do you think that, I mean, I'm sure there's, like you said, depends, and maybe at some point you're going to look for more principal pay down. But for you speak about the interest only quite a bit, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the answers I actually say it doesn't depend. Interest only is a wise answer for almost everybody. And I would say everybody, but absolutes always have a failure point. So almost everybody. Think about it like this. Dion says he'd do 1,000-year mortgages if he could. What's the problem with a 1,000-year mortgage versus a 200-year mortgage? couple dollars a month. Like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Right. There's a point where there's diminishing returns. The reason he's saying 1,000 is like, I never want to pay it off. That is no different than interest only. Dion and I think exactly the same way with a very different portfolio. We've come to the same conclusion. I want the longest payment schedule possible. The longest payment schedule possible is interest only. You pay it into infinity because there's 5 returns in real estate. Losing my voice. 5 returns. I need to get that before the event.
Yeah, we better slow it down. We better end it.
No,
soon.
we're good. I'll drink some tea after this or something. I don't know. But you got 5 returns. You got cash flow, appreciation. So you cash flows the net income you get to pay yourself, which is wonderful, and you can improve the property with it. You can do whatever you want with it. You got appreciation, values going up. Depreciation, you're getting that. Basically, it's like a loan to write off against your taxes that you have to pay back later if you sell it. That's wonderful. You have debt reduction if you're amortized. And then the last one's debt devaluation. And that's why I'm okay with interest only. The idea is instead of paying down a loan that's at 5%, 6%, 8%, let's let our tenants pay it as long as it's cash flow positive. I want my lowest payment possible, which is going to be interest only. I want other people to pay it, and I want that for extended periods of time. Because if you have $1 million of debt today and the money supply doubles over X amount of years, that means in relation, my debt that's still $1 million is worth less because there's double the money supply out there. And if you believe the same thing I do, I believe that the government's going to keep printing money. That debt proportionally gets devalued. So $1 million of debt is easier to pay back in 20 years than it is to pay back today because rent should be higher. So you should have more profit by then. So my philosophy is long-term fixed rate debt, cash flow and margin. One way to increase your margin is to make it interest only. And rather than trying to pay down a loan at a fixed rate, let me take what I would have been paying down on that loan and reinvest it in the property and push the value up. You can build equity by going either way. You can pay down your debt or you can push the value up. And even if you have a slump in the market and values come down a little bit, as long as you're still cash flowing and you got long-term fixed rate debt, it doesn't matter. You just have a superior asset. I'd rather have a superior asset and not be paying down my debt than be paying down my debt and have an inferior asset. So that's the way I operate. And on $1 million loan at 6%, the difference is about $1,000 a month if you go amortized over 30 years or interest only. On a 25-year AM, it's about $1,400 a month. So it adds up. That extra cash flow can go back into the building. You can make it nicer. You can push the rents up, get more profit. And if you want to take that extra profit at that point and pay it down, you can. But interest only strategically from a borrower perspective and a lender perspective, the wise thing if you have a operator who is focused on improving the asset.
All-Nighter Hider says, still paying it back. Interest only is never paying it.
Doesn't matter. You're not paying it. You're getting a position in the real estate for an extended period of time. And this is something that you're going to have to either be okay with being in debt or not. But if you're not the one paying it, your tenants are. And you get an extra, like in the 30-year AM example, on $1 million loan, 6%, you save about $12,000 a year doing interest only. If that $12,000 a year can be invested in the property and significantly out earn the interest rate. So maybe you get, like an example, I added bedrooms to some of my apartments, converted storage. It cost like $5,000, and I got an extra $250 a month. So I spend $5,000 and I get an extra $3,000 a year. That's a 60% rate of return. I could do 2 of those and then still have an extra $2,000 in reserve if I did interest only than I could have done if I did it amortized. Now, yeah, I'm still paying it forever. But if you want to pay it down with the extra cash flow, that extra $250 a month on 2 units in the first year, now I have an extra $6,000 a year. I could plow that into the principal if I want, the amount you owe. I could reinvest that into more of my deals, but control your money. Don't sign yourself up for obligations above and beyond what you have to. And maximizing your cash flow is always a wise strategy.
Yeah, I think that's the way I look at it also. And I think because if you kind of look at like your presentation, right? It's going to be that people that are in that 5 years or so of suck or whatnot, right? It's always the amount of cash they have for reserves or maintenance or whatever struggles you're dealing with at that time, right? And they're not really worried. They're never really talking about, oh, I'm worried about what my loan to value is at where I'm at, right? It's usually the cash flow that's coming in, right?
Yeah, and success leaves clues. Look at Dion. And he's said this many times. Where has the majority of his net worth come from? Appreciation,
Appreciate, yeah.
not debt pay down. I mean, so you can make the argument that you should pay down your debt, but if you look at history, like the majority of wealth comes from appreciation. But if you don't have the cash flow to wait it out, you lose. So why not go interest only for an extended period of time? I mean, standard DSCR loans, you can get 10 years of interest only now. Get the extra 1,000 a month or 500 a month, or no matter, depends how big your loan is, but get that extra cash flow so that your odds of holding onto it are higher. That is my 2 cents.
Hyder just wants to clarify that he was answering and agreeing. The difference between the two loan amounts is interest only. I see Val tuning in. Val is actually in Vegas already. So they haven't been to Vegas before. So him and the wife are actually got in last night and checking out the scenery. And I think this morning they're on a bus to the Grand Canyon, I believe he said. Cody Evers, actually Joe Farrell, who will also be at the event, says sixth wonder of real estate is belief in financial freedom. Absolutely. Cody Evers said, I do like the debt pay down because even worst case, there's no growth. I like that at least the debt is going down. Corridor Chris, I forget. I'm not sure if you're going to be in Vegas for the event, but he says, yes, advantageous position if arbitrage well. Later refi out when it has served its purpose. So, this is the one thing. So even like when I do the my weekly calls with Zuber and we go through the questions, like I think this last one I mentioned, yeah, none of it, he doesn't know any of the questions ahead of time or the comments. And the way he's able to answer those just on the cusp is amazing to me. But I even like you interacting with you, Flavio, I love how you playing with numbers in your head. I'm not good at math, but anytime there's numbers thrown out or a topic or something, the way you're able to run the numbers quickly in your head and just come out with some sort of scenario, yeah, it amazes me.
It's just about keeping it really simple, making it small numbers. If you can remember a couple things in math, you can do a heck of a lot of math in your head. There's something that I learned a few years ago called a rate factor for mortgages. And it's a percentage you multiply by any number, and it'll tell you exactly what the annual loan payment is, no matter what loan it is. So if you know what a rate factor is, you can figure out any loan amount in your head, and then you just divide it by 12 to get the monthly payment. And so there's different rate factors for 30 RAM, 25 RAM, 20 RAM, all that. But if you can learn that, that'll help you out.
Like I said, Frank did have something earlier. It was, I'm not sure. He says maybe better than a question. Share your situation and then talk about your goal. Maybe better than a question. Not quite sure what he's trying to get to about that. Okay. I did see a text or a post in school that just came through on my phone. It looks like Brandon is confirming that his Friday coffee meetup is at 8 a.m. at the Denny's by the Venetian on the Strip. So for those of you, we'll have the Wednesday, Thursday night Dion's meetup, and then Friday morning will be Brandon's coffee meetup. Elliot, I believe Elliot was the one. I think there was the one the other day asking about buying a private island, I believe, or something. But he's asking about what's the best location. Well, talking about strip clubs, what's the best location of the clubs? I don't
The
know.
best location is where the strippers are. That's what I heard.
Yeah. I prefer not talk about my age. Yep, Ike will be in Vegas. He was on. I think he was on a few weeks ago with you on one of the live streams. He's very happy. He's a Seattle Seahawks fan, so he's definitely going to be annoying me. Probably, I'm sure, in Vegas after they've dominated the Patriots. Let's see. Uh, let's see. So if someone is in year 6 or 7 of their journey and feels behind, what would you tell them directly with like no sugarcoating?
I'd have to figure out what their goal is because they're comparing themselves to their year 10, right? So maybe they're cash flowing 1,500 a month and they have 6 units, but SS 250 a unit, right? And they want to get to 5 grand a month. And they're like, linearly speaking, I'm not going to get to 5 grand if I spent 6 years and I'm at 1,500. So we just have to take a look. It's like, okay, well, what do you think you can do with your current property? You might be one purchase away. You could be just one purchase away and then waiting. Right? If you have say you have a $100 rent bump you could do on your units, all right, that takes you from 1,500 to 2,100. You're almost halfway there. Plus, you have a few more years of time to help you out. Let's go buy one more 6 unit, and like you got to math it out. But the whole feelings thing, like people are like, oh, I feel like I'm too far away. I was like, well, logically speaking, you're not, but you commit all this time and energy and work to just get there. It's like, I can't make it. It's like, well, if you can't make it, you can't make it. But let's map out logical steps and try and make it. And you'll probably be surprised when you get there. It's my thought.
Here's a really important one. Not sure what he's referring to. Yeah.
I have a
So
feeling that our age difference is similar to Elliot and my age difference.
yeah. So you are, day one kicking it off, speaking at the event. Is there anyone that you are looking forward to hear their presentation?
I'm just excited to be in the room networking again, more so than anything. I hope I get to meet every speaker. I think that would be a good goal of mine, to meet every speaker, say hey, shake hands, talk about what's going on in their life and see what they're working on. It's always inspiring, regardless of position. You can always find something someone else has done that you haven't. And so I think the biggest takeaways will come from the behind the door, behind the scenes conversations rather than just the presentation, which is why one of my earliest pieces of advice is go shake hands with everybody, every speaker. So that's what I'm most looking forward to at the event.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a very unique event where you do have a lot of opportunities to probably speak and connect with a lot of the presenters and speakers at. So year one was definitely a little bit different than year two, just because I think year one the speakers were more like the original One Rent at a Time kind of Zuber's channel, people that were on his channel. So most of those presenters were there hanging out both days, even coming out with different groups after the events were over with. So year two wasn't as much of that, just because some of the speakers that were there they're just they were there kind of presenting and they were gone. But year one was definitely like Coach Carson was there both days, so you had the opportunity to just sit down with him and talk story with him and pick his brain. You had Brian Adamson, so there was just a lot of people. It was amazing. Derek Sherrill was hanging out with everyone after going out, hanging out, partying. Even Lance Lambert came out to hang out with everyone, so it was a lot of fun. Tri-State Underground Utilities, coming from your channel, says, I have a guy that wants to sell his mobile home park for 1.25 million, wants 375 down, and will finance the rest at 5.5. It will only.
Well, Mark cut out. So, anyways, to your point, oh, you're back.
Yeah, it keeps happening. I don't know why.
You know what? If that's the worst thing that happens today, it's going to be a wonderful day.
It's actually storming out here. School got canceled. All the schools got canceled. So today was actually like a day off for my son, like a teacher's day off.
Yeah.
So, but now he has Friday off because they canceled school today. So because teachers still need, I guess, the actual day off, they moved that to Friday. So now my son only has like 2.5 days of school because Wednesday's a short day, and next Monday is a holiday. It's a 4-day weekend.
That's the best as a kid.
Yeah.
So back to the question, though. I'm going to make some assumptions, and maybe you can further clarify. I'm guessing, based on what you said, that 16,000 is a year. So no, unless there was a significant value add, I wouldn't want to do a seller finance deal if I only earn. That's less than 5%. That's 4% and something cash on cash per year. On a seller finance deal, that's not that great unless it's a really short amortization. If you have a huge debt pay down in that, could be good, but you didn't tell us about the amortization. You didn't tell us if that cash flow is annual. I'm guessing it's annual. You also didn't mention if that is before your debt payment. Like we got to know some more pieces here, but if you want us to go into the numbers, share what the net operating income looks like, share the amortization, and we can break it down in real time.
Yes. So Tri-State Underground, if you're still here, if you want to put more information in the chat, Cody would try to break it down for you. Hey, wait, Charles. Oh, Charles is here. Oh yeah, also Charles, like I think I mentioned to you last time, Cody, Charles is going to be offering probably about 20 Audible books, I believe, Zuber's first book, and he kind of wants, I don't know, he said me, but I think you're more you to kind of present that to probably the kids you're speaking, the teenagers, and
cool.
Offer that. So he wants to give back to the community. Tri-State says cash flow is annual.
You still got to know what the amortization is. So if it's interest only, like we have not been provided enough pieces. So is that a 25-year AM, 30, 20 interest only? What is it? And if you could share that, that would be helpful.
Flavio is saying the best thing of the ORaaT event, everyone are in the same path. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things is just you'll see people maybe at different points in the journey, but they're kind of all headed in that same direction. And that's why the event is so great, because you might be talking to people that are further along but can guide you on maybe the struggles they've went through, or or people that, like you say, there's probably going to be people still there that haven't got their first rental and still haven't leaped in, and there's going to be a lot of people to give their 2 cents on that too. Like, oh, this is what I struggled with before I got mine first, and how I just kind of had to jump in. So the bottom does say this part sucks, is because I guess I could take that off, but it's trying to, Cody just kind of, his presentation at the One Rental at a Time event in Vegas, he kind of pivoted from maybe his original thought of what his presentation was going to be about. And he's going to be talking more about the kind of 5 years of suck journey where maybe a lot of the people at the event are kind of in or at right now. But he says, Tri-State says, not a value add. I like to see at least 30,000 a year cash flow for the trouble. 30-year AM, he says.
Okay, so if we want to underwrite this, 5.5% interest on a 30-year AM, the rate factor is about 6.8. It's a little higher than that. So if we multiply that by your loan amount, 1.25 million. So you're at 870 or no, 850. No, 875. Okay. So yeah, you're at $875,000 loan amount. So your annual debt payment is going to be $59,000. I'm using a calculator on this because I don't want to do it in my head. $59,617.95, roughly. And then you have cash flow of $16,000 a year. If you add your debt payments and your cash flow, it gives you your NOI. So $75,617.95 divided into your purchase price of $1.25 million, and you're buying it at a 6% cap rate. I mean, if you're happy with that for a mobile home park in your area, then that's the return. One thing you could do, you said you want another $14,000. So here's a little trick that you can do to figure out what your interest rate needs to be. If we take $14,000, let's divide it into the 875. So that's 1.6%. So if we lower the interest rate by 1.6%, well, I guess it's not amortized, so it's not one for one. It's not perfect, but we'd have to do that with an amortization schedule. But if you lower your interest rate enough, or maybe make it interest only, you could likely get to your cash flow number. And then as an example, 5.5% on a interest only loan for 875, that's going to drop your debt down by almost 12,000. So that would put you closer to that 30,000 a year mark. So maybe instead of doing amortized, you do interest only, or you just lower the interest rate until it gets to a point where you are happy. But a 6 cap with the cost of capital above 6%, because with the amortization, it's like that 6.8%, you're going to lose money on every dollar you borrow. So your return is going to be pretty low.
Juice can buy. Elliot is throwing all kind of comments in there, and I'm trying to wrap my head around.
It's kind of being a troll.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's real questions and not questions. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Vegas. You are getting in what, Friday, I believe you said?
Friday, yeah.
Friday. Right. So I guess you'll be missing most of the Dion and Tri-State gave you a thumbs up. So Dion, Brandon.
Yeah, it's because my wife's coming. I don't want to take a separate flight, and she works during the week, and we don't want to figure out the working in Vegas.
He said he's not trolling, so I don't. He said, well, okay, we'll get. He said if Juice can buy properties and have so many kids, what's stopping other people from having a decent family and buying a house? Any tips?
A decade of discipline is stopping people.
That, and I think just not believing the noise that you can't do it. I think that is the one big thing too. There's so much noise out there saying you can't do it and it's impossible, and I think that's the one thing, get around find your community, find your people that are doing it, and kind of blocking out all that nonsense, right? And it's not, I mean, I like to Cody, it's not saying that it's easy or anything, but there's going to be sacrifices along the way, right? So definitely, it can be done, but yeah, there will be some sacrifices there. Hyder, the moderator. So yeah, he always does a great job. And I don't think he gets enough credit. He did get a belt year 2 in Vegas, and I think Zuber is giving away. I think he said 6 belts this year to other people in the community that are standing out, helping out. So I think that's after day 1 he'll be presenting those. So, and reminder, Hyder, if you didn't hear, make sure you bring your belt. Zuber wants anyone that received the belt previously to bring your belt there so we can take pictures and photos with everyone that has a belt. But yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I'll be there tomorrow. I'm flying out early tomorrow morning, so I'll be there Tuesday. Me and Val will probably hook up since he's already there. I know some people are coming in Wednesday, Thursday for the Dion meetups. But hopefully we get to see you outside of the event too, Cody. Like you said, I know you're going to be there with your wife, but hopefully you'll be able to meet up and hang out with people.
Absolutely, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Any final words for people before we wrap things up?
Elliot said homes are getting expensive, and I don't think you can buy a house in New York City with a decent job. Then don't buy something else. You don't have to buy a house. I don't like to buy houses. Wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Elliot. I mean, I'm sure someone in your area is doing it. I think there's a lot of people. It is hard. I mean, maybe expensive, but people are figuring out a way to do it, right? But maybe try go to some meetups in your area and see if there's investors or people that are buying real estate that can give you some tips on how they're doing it in their market. Charles is saying yes, need to figure out a way to give audiobooks away. You know what? I figured out how to create a QR code that I can just put in my Apple Wallet. So I've created some QR code for my YouTube channel and school. So maybe I can figure out a way to put that on an audiobook one. He's asking what should he buy? Need
You should do
develop.
some research and figure out what you want to buy. If you just get answers from some random people on YouTube that you've never met, you're probably going to buy the wrong thing.
Great advice right there. Well, Cody, I'm sure your presentation is going to be amazing. I think everyone's going to love to see it kicking off day one. So you have to be there early, everyone. And remember, show up early because check-in can take a little bit of time because you got to get your name tags and everything. So I believe it starts at 8 and then Zuber is runs it on a T. He's on point. So get there early, get checked in, get settled in, and don't miss any of Cody's presentation on day one. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, this probably is my last live stream for the week. I think we'll see. We'll try to figure it out. But Cody, thanks for doing this, and we'll figure out if I do Monday. I might. Yeah, we'll figure it out next week's one. But I'll
Cool.
see you in
Sounds good.
Vegas, man. Thanks,
See you.
man. Okay, bye.